Welcome to the deep dive. So really appreciate you sharing these materials on planning technical activities. Looks like it's by J.O. Tingor Candle.
Yeah, it's a great foundation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think our mission today is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Let's try and pull out the really core insights from this document, the practical stuff.
Absolutely. We should probably cover, well, what planning is fundamentally right
Yeah.
and how it maybe changes depending on where you sit in management.
Different levels, yeah.
Exactly. And the actual steps involved, the different kinds of plans.
Policies, procedures, all that jazz.
And, what actually makes planning work or not work sometimes.
Right. And they kick off with that pretty stark example, don't they, about the hiring plan failure.
Oh, yeah. Doubling expenses. That certainly gets your attention.
It really does. Shows the stakes, avoidable problems if the planning's solid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It highlights the real-world impact right away.
So let's dive in. According to Candle, what's the basic idea? Why plan at all?
Well, the document really stresses that it's fundamentally about reducing the chance of making bad calls.
Minimizing errors.
Yeah, through methodical analysis, thinking ahead systematically.
So it's structured thinking before you leap.
Pretty much. A way to avoid pitfalls by looking first.
Makes sense. And I see a couple of definitions here. There's one from Colin Hamilton.
Right. Theirs is quite detailed. It asks the key questions: what, who, where.
When, how, and standards. Like a checklist.
Exactly. Make sure you cover all the essential bases,
A very thorough approach. But there's a simpler take as well.
Yes. Candle also boils it down. Planning is basically just choosing the best way forward to hit your goals.
Selecting the best course of action. More direct.
Yeah, gets right to the heart of it. Making those choices to achieve objectives.
So, detailed checklist or core concept, either way, the plan is your guide, right? Your instructions for action.
Precisely. It's the roadmap for implementing activities, not just wishful thinking.
Gotcha. And it seems this roadmap looks different depending on your altitude in the company.
That's a great way to put it. The perspective, the time frame. It changes quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which brings us to those management levels.
Okay. Yeah. Strategic, intermediate, and operational planning. Let's unpack those.
Sure. So strategic planning, that's typically top management's playground.
The C-suite, board level.
Right. They're looking at the whole organization, big picture goals. And the time frame is, well, it's long. 1 to 10 years, maybe.
Wow. Yeah. Setting the long-term direction. Major moves like new markets or big shifts.
Exactly. Really shaping the future of the company. High stakes, like you said earlier.
Okay. Then what about intermediate planning?
That usually falls to middle management. Think department heads, division managers.
Okay.
Here, the focus narrows a bit. It's about the goals for their specific area.
Makes sense.
And the time frame shortens, too. Maybe 6 months up to 2 years, roughly.
So taking that big strategic vision and translating it into, concrete plans for different teams.
You got it. Starting to draw the more detailed blueprints based on the overall strategy.
Okay. And the third level, operational planning.
Right. That's down at the lower management level. Supervisors, team leads.
The front lines.
Exactly.
Yep.
This is where the day-to-day, week-to-week work gets planned out, executing specific tasks.
So very focused, very practical.
And a much shorter horizon. We're talking maybe a week up to a year, typically.
Things like scheduling work, assigning resources for this week's tasks, making sure daily stuff aligns with the bigger plans.
Precisely. And the document actually have that figure 3.1 you mentioned.
Yeah, the visual.
Which is super helpful for seeing those levels and time frames side by side. Clues it right up.
Definitely. Okay, so we understand the different levels of planning. What about the actual process? How do you build a plan? Candle outlines 4 steps, right?
Yep, 4 key steps. First one, set goals.
Seems obvious, but crucial. You need a destination.
Can't plan a journey without one. And the example they give is Buena Vista Construction Corp.
Ah, yes, the 25% ROI target.
Exactly. Clear, measurable, something concrete to aim for. Everything else flows from that.
Makes total sense. Step 2, then, is develop strategies and tactics. We hear those words thrown around a lot. What's the real difference?
Good question. The document clarifies it nicely. A strategy is your long-term game plan, the big approach.
Okay.
The example is diversifying into material trading. That's a major multi-year shift for that construction company.
Right, a strategic direction. So what are tactics then?
Tactics are the short-term moves you make within that strategy. They're more immediate, flexible adjustments, like hiring contractual workers for a specific project need. It supports the bigger picture, but it's a shorter-term action.
Ah, okay. So strategy is the war plan, tactics are the battles.
That's a decent analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
Strategy is the overall course. Tactics are the specific maneuvers along the way.
Got it. Step 3, determine resources.
Yeah, this is about figuring out what you actually need to pull off the plan.
People, money, equipment.
Exactly. Both human resources, the skills, the time, and non-human resources. Budget, tools, materials. Got to have the means to execute.
Otherwise, it's just a wish list. Absolutely vital. And the final step in the process, setting standards.
Right. Standards are your yardsticks. How you measure progress, how you know if you're succeeding.
Benchmarks.
Yep. The example used is setting daily production quotas.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
you can track, are we on schedule? Are we hitting the numbers we need to hit?
Precisely. It provides that check.
Okay, let's recap that process then. 1, know where you're going, goals. 2, figure out the long game and short moves, strategy tactics. 3, get your stuff together, resources. 4, check if you're getting there, standards.
That's a really solid summary. Covers the core elements.
Cool. Now, the document also talks about different types of plans, not just levels, but categories.
Right. And they slice it a few ways. You can categorize plans by the functional area they cover.
Like marketing, finance,
Exactly. Or by their time horizon, short versus long term.
which we touched on with the levels.
We did. They often overlap. And also by how often you use them. Are they standing plans or single-use plans?
Okay, let's break those down. Functional area plans first.
Sure. These are plans specific to different departments. So a marketing plan would cover target markets, ad spend, campaigns, right? A production plan looks at manufacturing schedules, quality control, getting materials,
Makes sense.
financial plan, budgets, forecasts, maybe investments, HR plan, recruitment, training needs, compensation. Each area has its own detailed plan.
But ideally, they all connect back to the overall company strategy.
Absolutely. They should all be pulling in the same direction.
Okay. Then we have time horizon, short range versus long range.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Short range is usually less than a year. Long range, more than a year.
And like you said, often tied to those strategic, intermediate, operational levels.
Very often, yes. Strategic plans tend to be long range. Operational plans tend to be short range.
Got it. And the third category, frequency of use, standing versus single use. This sounds interesting.
It is. Standing plans are your reusable guides. They're meant for situations that come up again and again.
Like standard operating procedures.
Exactly. That falls under a procedure's step-by-step instructions for specific recurring tasks.
Okay.
Standing plans also include policies, which are broader guidelines for decision-making.
Like a company's policy on travel expenses or something.
Perfect example. And rules, which are very specific do's and don'ts. No ambiguity.
Safety goggles must be worn, that kind of thing.
Precisely. So, policies, procedures, rules, these form the backbone of consistent operations. Your operational DNA, you called it earlier.
Ah, right. So what are single-use plans then?
These are developed for a unique goal or situation. Once it's done, the plan is retired.
Like a project plan?
Exactly. Projects are a key example. Also programs, which might be a group of related projects.
Okay.
And budgets are often single-use, a budget for a specific fiscal year or a particular campaign.
So standing plans for the routine stuff, single-use plans for the one-offs. Knowing the difference seems pretty important for efficiency.
Huge. Avoids reinventing the wheel for recurring tasks, but ensures unique projects get tailored planning.
Okay, that's a very clear distinction. The document also zooms in specifically on the strategic plan. What are its key ingredients?
Right, the foundation for everything else. 3 core components are highlighted. First, the mission statement.
The why, the organization's purpose.
Exactly. Its reason for existing. Second, goals and objectives.
The what and how much. Specific targets.
Yep, quantified aims, like that 25% ROI goal again. Measurable outcomes.
And third,
Strategies. This is the how, the action plan for using resources to actually reach those goals and fulfill the mission.
mission, goals, strategies, the core strategic framework.
That's it. They guide everything else.
Now, planning sounds great on paper, but, life happens, plans go awry. What does Candle say about barriers? What trips people up?
Yeah, acknowledges it's not always smooth sailing. Several barriers are mentioned. One is just, well, an inability to plan well, lack of skill or experience.
Okay, a competence issue.
Could be. Another big one is lack of commitment. If leadership or the team doesn't really buy into the plan or the process.
It's dead in the water.
Pretty much. And interestingly, they also mention over-reliance on data.
Really? Too much data can be bad?
Apparently. You can get paralysis by analysis, spending so much time gathering and analyzing data that you never actually make a decision or take action.
Analysis paralysis. I've heard of that. Trying to get the perfect map, but never starting the journey.
That's a perfect way to put it. Sometimes you need to move with good enough information.
So, knowing the barriers, what helps make planning more effective? Any aids mentioned?
Yes, definitely. Gathering good, relevant data is still crucial. Just don't overdo it.
Find a balance.
Right. Also, involving stakeholders is key. Get input from the people impacted by the plan. Get their buy-in early.
Makes sense. Ownership.
Absolutely. And finally, maintain focus on the long-term goals. Even when short-term fires pop up, don't lose sight of the overall strategy.
Keep your eyes on the prize, basically. Those sound like solid principles.
Very practical advice.
Okay, so as we kind of pull this all together, wrapping up our deep dive into Candle's planning technical activities, what are the absolute must-remember takeaways for someone listening?
I'd say number one, planning is vital. It aligns everyone towards the same goals, minimizes wasted effort, costly errors.
Essential, not optional.
Right. Two, planning isn't one size fits all. It looks different at the strategic, intermediate, and operational levels, different focus, different time frames.
Tailor the approach.
Yep. And three, effective planning needs clear goals, a realistic grasp of your resources, people, money, time, and crucially, the flexibility to adapt when things inevitably change.
Set the course, pack the right gear, but be ready to navigate around unexpected storms.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening as they think about their own work. Perhaps consider which type of plan might be most beneficial for a current challenge. Is it time to formalize a standing plan, like a procedure for something you do often? Or do you need a really robust, single-use project plan for that big initiative coming up?
Yeah, thinking about how you plan, not just that you plan. That's a great takeaway.
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for exploring this document with me.
My pleasure. Really interesting stuff.